My wife thought I was working our robot too hard because it was going out for about 6 hours at a time to mow my lawn. Because I'm mowing a little more than half an acre with my robot. The robot will mow 1.25 acres, but I had it mowing about a little more than half an acre. And she said, "You're making that robot work too hard. Alfred is what we call it, because the big A on front, Alfred the butler." So she said, "You're making Alfred work hard." I said, No, it's a robot. That's what it likes to do. And so, but it is part of the family, and we talk to it all the time. We watch it work. Nothing better than sitting there with your drink, watching it do all the hard work. My first job as a paper boy, it was a great time. As you're learning as a young kid that it doesn't matter if it's raining, doesn't matter if it's snowing, doesn't matter if you don't want to. If you got a sports game or something going on, you still had to do your job or you didn't get paid. And so, at a young age, that's been always instilled in us. If you want something, you have to work for it and put the effort in to get the results. Don't expect somebody to hand it out to you. And it's been kind of my mantra. It's something that I've tried to instill in my boys. I have 2 older sons now. They're adult sons now, and they're married and I have incredible grandkids. But one thing I've always instilled with them is work hard, do your best, be upfront, and don't take anything for granted. I was there for about a year and a half, and the sales manager came up to me and said, "You're not in the right spot. You need to be a salesperson, just watching how you interact." And that's where I started finding out what I really like to do. We've talked about today about, getting together and seeing each other. And that's what I get excited about is face-to-face. And that's what's been very hard about this year is I spent an entire year without traveling. I've never done that in 30 plus years in sales. Where I've had a whole year without traveling. And as much as my wife loves me, she does wonder when I'm going to get back on the road.
It's that time that's freed up. And I sometimes get people saying, well, I like to mow my yard, but I always say, is it the top 3 things you like to do? I always tell people, tell me your 3 favorite things to do. Mm-hmm. Okay. If mowing your yard is one of those 3, then a robotic lawnmower is not for you. Yep. If it's not a top 3, there's no excuse to not have a robot.
The first year I put my robot in my yard and had it mowing, the neighbor across the street says, he goes, "So what are you using for fertilizer this year?" He goes, "Because I don't see any dandelions. Your yard looks good." He goes, "What are you using?" I said, "This is the first year I didn't use fertilizer, the very first year, because it was mulching and it was feeding the lawn actually." And I mean, they say it all the time, but I was actually able to experience it. Is my yard looked healthier, looked greener. Yeah. It was better, and I didn't have to put all those chemicals in my yard. And he was just blown away. I said, "No, nothing this year. This is all about the robot this year." The quad has what we call a radar system. And the question came up in a meeting is, how do you think a Tesla drives in a tunnel? They're not driving off satellite. They're not driving off infrared. They're using a radar system like our old submarines used to do. You think about it. And the idea behind the quad and the way that I understand it, and our technical service manager can go into a lot more detail of it, but basically what it is, it's emitting a signal and it's reading things that are there. If the quad will never bump into a tree. It will never bump into a pole. It will sense that product. If there's a pet or a person out in the yard, it'll stop before it gets close to them, because the radar is constantly out there monitoring it, and it has a smart system on it, smart chips on it, where it actually learns it. So let's say you've got flower beds and things like that, where it's going to go over there, it's going to learn that there's a difference, and it's going to remember it.
I got my first vaccine just a week ago, and I get my second one on, I think it's April 14th or 15th. I was so sick from COVID. This is something that I just can't get people that, some people just understand it, they get it. Other people that have not been affected by COVID in a terrible way, they don't understand my feeling on this. But literally, I almost had a tear in my eye when I got that shot, because it put me in such relief, because after I had COVID the way I had it, I don't want to live my life in fear. I want to go crazy with robotics. I want to become a national guy with robotics. But every time somebody coughed or sniffled around me, I almost had like PTSD. I just did not want to deal with that again. So yeah, no, it was bad. People do need to take it serious, because it is. If you draw the short straw, it's very, very serious.
The biggest thing is I look at them as, did I learn from that process? Did I learn? I always go back. I was talking to somebody not long ago about Thomas Edison. What did he do? 1,000 different versions of the light bulb before he got the one that worked.
Yeah.
I'm making a lot of mistakes, but you know what? If I'm learning from them, it's not really a mistake. It's a process.